And finally today in this video, we compared the Pocket 4K to the Fujifilm XT3, probably the best cameras released this year. Just a disclaimer, I'm only going to be talking about things that matters to me, so if I miss something, I apologize. First up is low light performance. I have to admit it, I wasn't expecting too much from the XT3 in low light, and boy was I shocked at the results. The XT3 is pretty usable at least 3200 ISO, but remember noise reduction is on by default, so make sure to turn it off if you think the camera is blurring too much. Low light performance, the winner really depends on who you ask. If you like clean images straight out of the camera, the XT3 wins. But if you don't mind a little bit of post work and get more detail, then the Pocket 4K wins. So for me, Pocket 4K wins this one. Next topic is recording options. The Pocket 4K takes this one since the camera lets you record in not only RAW, but flavors of ProRes as well, and a firmware update will let you shoot in B-RAW. That being said, you better have a lot of storage for the Pocket 4K, which takes us to the next topic, recording media. The XT3 takes this one because of how cheap the recording media is compared to the Pocket 4K CFast 2.0 cards. I was able to use the same SD card I used with the bmpcc version 1, which goes for dirt cheap nowadays. Next up is portability. I honestly don't even know how Fuji was able to pack all the features this camera has in such a small package. The XT3 clearly takes this portability because it's freaking tiny. It's so lightweight, it doesn't draw as much attention as the Pocket 4K. It's a great walk-around camera for both video and stills. Battery life is next. The XT3 slightly takes this one since the camera doesn't have to process too much data. Remember, the Pocket 4K shoots RAW, so that takes a lot of power. If you shoot RAW in high frame rates, that's even worse. So the XT3 wins battery life. Let's talk about the screen. Unfortunately for the XT3, I'm going to go with bigger is better. The Pocket 4K screen might not be tiltable, but it has a pretty decent real estate on it. The touchscreen is definitely a nice touch from BMD. Menu system, I'm going to give it to the Pocket 4K because the layout is so much better. You can just scroll through the different pages and they grouped all the similar settings, so looking for stuff is not that hard. The XT3's menu is a little bit busier, but that's because the XT3 is also a stills camera. Fuji was smart enough to gray out the settings you can't use in certain modes, so that's kind of nice too. Next up is the dynamic range. Instead of just talking about this topic, let me go ahead and show you.
So here we are in DaVinci Resolve. And I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys what I mean with the dynamic range. Now, as you can see here, I have two shots that are overexposed. Now, I did it this way because not every time you're gonna get the perfect exposure. So what I'm trying to show you is how much can you retain or how much can you get back from overexposure? Because let's be honest, not every shot is gonna be perfect. So here we are as the DNG is the Pocket 4K and H.265 is all intra from the XT3. So let's go ahead and start with just go ahead moving this. So the Pocket 4K was shot at 400 and the XT3 was shot at 640, which both of them are the base ISOs, so they should get the most dynamic range. So as you can see here in the waveform, this is just overexposed. So what we're gonna do is just convert it to Rec 709, which is extended video for now. You see that that's really pushing it up. In the H.265, we're going to just apply the actual LUT from Fuji, which is to Eterna, which is actually really good. So you can see there, that's pushed up all the way. I'm going to make this bigger so you can kind of see that it's pushed up all the way to the 1023 and as well as the Pocket 4K. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to drop down the ISO to 100 and show you what that does. All right, so by dropping down the ISO, you can see that there's still a lot of detail there that you can recover from the Pocket 4K. And I know the Pocket 4K only has 13 stops of dynamic range. It doesn't have 16 like the Ursa Mini Pro or the 4.6K, but 13 stops is still quite a bit, even at overexposure. Now let's go ahead and click highlight recovery right now, so you can see that it's gonna get a little bit more detail on those high highlights right here. You can really see that. And I know it's going up the 1023 range, but what you do after that is just really scale it down, scale the primaries down, and you're gonna get, just bring it within range, and that looks better. If you go like this, it's gone. If you go there, you see a lot more of that clouds. You can actually see it moving. This is a good example right here. Look at this white cloud right there. I'm gonna turn it off. See how it's just blob? But if you turn it on, you can see the variation of that cloud, and that's very, very impressive. So looking at the external footage, you can see that the XT3 didn't do that bad either. But the Pocket 4K just gives you all of these options because you are shooting raw. You can move the lift and you can move the gain down if you want. But in the XT3, you're gonna have to find a way to drop the exposure here. You can either use, you can go node before the actual LUT happens. You can go like, let's see here. You can drop the highlights if you want. And as you can see, it's recovering some of those highlights too, which is kind of nice. And then if you go to the shadows, you recover some. I mean, I was really impressed with the XT3's dynamic range as well, but just having those extra options and the Pocket 4K just right there by clicking this, clicking that, changing the ISOs and having all these controls really gives it that edge over the XT3.
Lastly, the price. There's nothing out in the market right now you can buy that can shoot 4K 60 frames per second raw lossless for $1,300. For the price, the Pocket 4K is truly impressive regardless of the minor negatives it has. However, if you really don't need raw, the XT3 is probably the best beginner hybrid video and stills camera that is out right now. Well, I hope I confused you guys even more with my comparison between these two cameras, and I do have a lot of downloadable footage from both of these cameras, and I have a couple more coming up, so make sure to check out the videos I have in my channel. And if you have questions, let me know. But if you have questions, try and reply to the most current video I have, because for some reason YouTube doesn't notify me of older video messages or replies or comments from you guys. Just hit me up in my current video and I should be able to see that.